fallen hero, honored for his bravery.
We don't get to understand why. We get to honor him and we get to live his legacy.
Officers escort Kevin Apple's casket on a final journey through Northwest Arkansas. People lining the streets, paying their respects.
It hits home, you know, it's a small town, and it really hits you hard.
His legacy will live on.
Officer Apple gave his heart, soul, and ultimately his life to the community that he loved.
Tonight, remembering his name.
Officer Kevin Apple, your memory will live on. We love you. We miss you.
Communities united in a show of both sympathy and support.
Tonight we celebrate the life of Officer Kevin Apple and share the stories from those who knew him best. 4029's Jamie Weiss was inside Cross Church during today's funeral while family, friends, and fellow officers gathered.
Well, several hundred people were inside of Cross Church today to honor the life and legacy of Officer Kevin Apple. And many of the people here spoke about the officer and knew him as someone with an infectious smile and someone that always made people laugh.
Fellow members of law enforcement and citizens of our great community, today we gather to honor Officer Kevin Apple.
With flowers lining the stage, the family of Officer Kevin Apple was escorted in by police as their son and brother was laid to rest. Several leaders from across the state could be found in the crowd and on stage.
More than 300 Arkansas police officers have been killed while on the job. In the 7 years that I have been governor, 15 officers have died in the line of duty. But Kevin Apple is not a statistic. He is not a number. He is a person who loves sports, he loved his family, he supported his fellow officers, and he supported his community.
And the community echoing that support as the mayor of the city that Officer Apple served shared this proclamation.
And whereas Officer Apple, badge 1212, served his community and his fellow officers with pride, bravery, and dedication, may he rest peacefully, knowing that he is greatly loved and will never be forgotten. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jackie Crabtree of the city of Pea Ridge, Arkansas, do proclaim December 12th in the city of Pea Ridge, from this day forward, Officer Kevin Dale Apple, number 1212, Remembrance Day.
The story shared about Kevin Apple during the service brought tears and laughter.
Kevin was just an amazing human being. He was someone that you had to be around. You had to call on. You had to go see what he was doing because you wanted to be a part of it.
Be sure to join us tonight on 4029 News at 6 o'clock as we hear some of the memories that officers of the Pea Ridge Police Department had to share about Officer Kevin Apple during his funeral today. Reporting live in Rogers, I'm Jamie Weiss, 4029 News.
Thank you, Jamie. An amazing and touching tribute for Officer Apple. And after the funeral ended, a large crowd gathered outside of Cross Church for the honor guard ceremonies. We have 4029's Kendall Ashman joining us now live with a look at those emotional moments.
Yeah, well, hundreds of people packed this lawn to pay tribute to Officer Apple and listen to the end of watch call, which played over police radio.
Officer Kevin Apple, your memory will live on. We love you. We miss you. We will keep protecting the citizens of Northwest Arkansas as you would want us to. Your blue, gold, and red family now has the watch from here. Lincoln clears Pea Ridge 1212 from this final call.
After the last radio call, the Benton County Honor Guard folded the flag that was draped on Officer Apple's casket. The honor flag was then presented to Chief Hahn, who then gave it to Officer Apple's mother. Amazing Grace played on the bagpipes, and 7 Honor Guard members fired a 21-gun salute. We spoke to the Operation Lieutenant with the Honor Guard after the ceremony.
The only way that I can describe something of this nature is overwhelming. When you see law enforcement, blue family coming in from every state in the country, flying in long distances, showing up in uniform, hundreds of people gathering. And most of the time, the officer doesn't even have the opportunity to even know who all these individuals are, but yet they're here as a solid brotherhood.
And after the ceremony, Officer Apple's casket was taken back to Bentonville to the funeral home. Now he will be laid to rest tomorrow in Oklahoma. And there will be a private ceremony with both family and the Pea Ridge Police Department. We're live in Rogers. I'm Kendall Ashman, 4029 News.
Well, different law enforcement agencies from all around coming from as far away as needed to show how much they care. 4029's Emma Claybrook is live at the church where the funeral was held, and some powerful words from people today, Emma.
I spoke to so many people today who told me Officer Apple personally affected their lives. And I spoke to not only people in the community, but law enforcement officers who came from across the country to honor Officer Apple.
When this happens, we stick together, and there is a brotherhood among law enforcement, and we will stand with each other.
This afternoon, the community said goodbye to badge number 1212.
We know that when one of us passes in this horrific manner, even though they have moved on to God, that the community needs to see that we're all human, and that even though we wear this uniform, we're like the community, we're like the everyday people, and we celebrate the same, we cry the same, we have the same feelings, the same humanity.
Law enforcement from across the state and even across the country came to lay their fallen brother to rest.
They're all our brothers, whether they're in Arkansas, Colorado, or anywhere. The police are the police, we're one color.
And while the community grieves the loss of Officer Apple today, the Brotherhood of Blue says this is a wound that will never fully heal.
It's a very emotional experience, and it will not end at the end of this funeral service. It will keep right on going. And these people need our prayers and our support. They need people to stand with them.
Coming up tonight at 6, we'll hear from one woman who says she would not be here today if it weren't for Officer Apple's service. Reporting live in Rogers, Emma Claybrook, 4029 News.
Well, possibly the most emotional moments of the day happened as the procession passed through the community that Officer Apple served. 4029's Cole Zimmerman, he was there. He joins us now in Pea Ridge. And Cole, what was it like?
Well, over the last week, we've shown you the unwavering support for Officer Kevin Apple and the Pea Ridge Police Department. And today at the procession, it was no different.
The streets of Pea Ridge were lined with hundreds of people to give their thanks to Officer Apple one last time.
I'm here to support the city of Pea Ridge, support Officer Apple. I knew him personally. He was an awesome guy. He'd give the shirt off his back for anybody. He did everything as the greater good.
Well, I came out to give my respect to Officer Apple and his family. I heard some good things about him.
Through a week filled with emotion, the community came together.
It's kind of hard. A lot of community pulling together, though. But it hits home, it's a small town, and it really hits you hard.
Residents with one final message to their fallen hero.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service. You paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we'll forever be grateful for what you've done.
And driving in and out of Pea Ridge, you'll see signs lining the roads thanking Officer Apple, as well as blue lights on homes here showing their support for the police department. Really just a testament to how much this community appreciates Officer Kevin Apple. Live in Pea Ridge, Cole Zimmerman, 4029 News.
And so many people paid their respects today. There were several agencies who also joined the Pea Ridge Police Department in today's procession. We saw more than 200 law enforcement vehicles traveling from Bentonville to Rogers for his service. They were all lining the streets as they passed, including several community members and first responders.
I know if it was my father or somebody in my family, I would really appreciate seeing all the people that genuinely respect the reason, why he died and the cause that he put forth.
The whole law enforcement community in general, with so much that's going on right now, bringing us together, like this is, something that we can show the community that, hey, we're not, different. We're all the same.
Really, it was amazing to see today. There were additional patrol cars and police cruisers, as you see there. They all joined that procession at Central and Moberly Lane.
And you can find all the tributes and support from the procession and the funeral to the stories about Officer Apple himself on 4029tv.com, as well as all the latest news, weather, and sports.